It's about 9 p.m. my time. I'm over on the East Coast here, and looking forward to having a beer when I get done here. I think it's been a long day. Anyway, so what is blockchain development all about? Why do I care about blockchain, and what type of solutions can I build? What programming languages can I use? That's always a good question, right? And what are smart contracts exactly, and what are dApps, and what's an AVM? That's our Algorand virtual machine. Then also we have how do I verify smart contracts? In other words, audits. So we are going to cover blockchain basics and use cases. It's really appropriate since many of you are brand new to blockchain. So we'll get you going in blockchain in general first. Talk about use cases. I'll give you some ideas of solutions you can build with blockchain scenarios, and then also talk about layer one, which is right on the blockchain itself, and getting started in some code and tools. So we got three pillars here. We've got decentralized, distributed, and immutable. All three of these are really good for defining what blockchain's all about. Number one, it is decentralized, so as opposed to centralized. Many times you have data centers that have a lock and key. You hear about ransomware attacks just about every day, and this is happening in that type of scenario where you have centralized data centers. So decentralized is a very, very important aspect. It's basically a copy of the ledger is available all over the globe, and so it's just distributed, and which is really nice. The fact that you can actually have a distributed, um, you know, data exchange throughout the entire planet. So there's really no boundaries. And what this helps facilitate is, for example, doing financial transactions. You can do a transaction between here and Canada, between here and wherever in the country. There's no boundaries on this. So it's really just between the sender and the receiver. And then finally, you get to be talk about immutable. The blockchain is an immutable ledger. It is read only, and you just write once. Anytime you write a bunch of transactions to the blockchain, that's done when a block is created. So that's the only time it gets written. So everything else has a hashing algorithm to identify if there has been any tampering with the blockchain whatsoever. So it is very, very immutable, and that is a really nice for audit trails in particular. If you need an audit trail built into your solution, you get that free of charge with blockchain. So continuing on here, this is just to kind of give you an idea of different record types, more for like the database type folks out there. With this immutable distributed ledger, there are blocks which contain transactions. So a block is really just a slice of time. Our blocks are burned in under 5 seconds on the Algorand blockchain. So during that 5 seconds, any transactions that are recorded are associated with that period of time. Then transactions are done between who? The sender and a receiver, or accounts. And then each account also has one-to-many assets or one-to-many applications associated with it as well. And each one of those would be opt-in as well as create are the different flavors for that. So let's get into some use cases here with El Salvador now going to use Algorand blockchain by the end of the year here for recording all of their official records on the blockchain. Also, you get really some great solution examples here with Circle, the power of stablecoins in next generation blockchain. Got USDC growing very fast at 2.9 billion in circulation. For those that are unfamiliar with stablecoins, let's back up a second here and just talk about cryptocurrency in general. General cryptocurrencies really fluctuate in price from one day to the next. It's a roller coaster ride sometimes, and that really gets to be difficult to do transactions under that, because if you buy something for 10,000 algos and the next day it's going to cost 20,000, that's really a tough thing to try to coordinate. Stable coins address that. Instead of fluctuating like crypto does, it actually is tied to a fiat, like a USD, a currency. So however USD fluctuates, it's a little bit smoother in terms of you know, it going up and down, and the stable coin goes along with that. So that really lends itself nicely to transaction. Over 2.9 billion of those in circulation. So Yieldly is another cool thing here. It's a multi-asset staking and cross-chain swapping on Algorand, bridging, staking, and no-loss lotteries. Lumi also chose Algorand to power crypto payments. Works with any Algorand standard assets or fungible or non-fungible tokens, and any future central bank digital currency built on Algorand. And then we get to the Italian Society of Authors and Publishers. They launched over 4 million NFTs on Algorand to 95,000 creators. Now, this is going to be a new way to do copyrights. It's well, for the first time, it's represented as digital assets. And it is you know, all about NFTs, which are stands for non-fungible tokens. And what a non-fungible token is basically it's unique. It's like a collectible. In this case, it's a copyright. It's one of a kind, and they put over 95,000 of these up there. So there's no boundaries once again, and this is globally done as a copyright. So it's pretty cool when you start thinking about the possibilities of what blockchain solutions involve. And also Google on this for a non-fungible token skit done on Saturday Night Live. It's pretty humorous. It was done a couple months ago. All right, other use cases. You got tamper-proof charity organizations. So the China ministry is using this right now to kind of map and provide an audit trail for donations and then what they're doing with the money. Also, voting tamper-proof. Healthcare. You got global access to medical records. Automotive, starting to put in sensors right in the engines, and they're writing out to the blockchain so that there's no disputing the wear and tear of spare parts. So a lot of this is really great stuff. But this is the biggest thing, DeFi, right? What you have here are these type of apps are exploding. In 2020, is over $1 trillion in cumulative blockchain network value, and now you got 2021. We're getting close to $3 trillion in the blockchain industry. Just phenomenal. The ecosystem at Algorand is really growing quite nicely. You see here we've got a lot of financial infrastructure and ecosystems and technical applications, as well as we went mainnet about 2.5 years ago. We got over 500 ambassadors representing 60 countries. Those are like our most valuable professionals, and really a lot of goodness here going on with this platform. So, by the way, feel free to ask questions in the Q&A tab, and Ryan will go ahead and take a shot at those. So, if you got any questions along, please pipe up, and we'll get those answered in line here. So let's talk about the protocol, the Algorand blockchain pure proof of stake protocol. So this is what I was telling you about, where we burn blocks in less than 5 seconds. Also, it's got true scalability with over 1,000 transactions per second, and we're really looking at pegging about 40,000 transactions per second. So this is really going to be dwarfed by some really fast speeds. Then also, you've got infrastructure longevity as well. Everything is open source, a lot of technical flexibility here with the SDKs and REST APIs. We'll show you all those here today. Transaction certainty as well, and really an extensible platform by all means. There's no forking, by the way, with transaction certainty. Boy, energy efficient? Sure is. You can actually run a node on a Raspberry Pi. That's how energy efficient is. We are a green blockchain, and it's really good to be part of that. Unlike mining does it with Bitcoin and Ethereum. Those are very, very expensive from a energy perspective, and so there's no mining. We don't use expensive machines to beef up and generate nodes. We use a verifiable random function. And Silvio Macaulay, our founder, was a Turing Award winner, by the way. He figured it out. You don't need to have a consensus with everybody. What you need is a representative sample, and that's exactly what we do when we go ahead and do a consensus on the nodes. So true security is what you get with a pure proof of stake protocol. So let's get into layer one, the heart and soul of your solution. And this is going to revolve around these items you see right here: Algorand Accounts, Algorand Standard Assets, Atomic Transactions, Algorand Smart Contracts, and reporting with Indexer. So what are all these? So what you see here is a standard account on the left that could represent an individual or maybe or company as a sender or receiver. Then in the middle, you got something called multi-sig account. This is where you can have to have an X number of folks out of a group sign off in order for this transaction to be sent out and approved. So say you've got a group of 10 and you decide, oh, my threshold is going to be 3. So any 3 that sign off will make this writable to the blockchain, whatever the transaction is. So think of that as like maybe a board of directors or something, and you want to have a certain kind of vote, right, to approve anything that goes forward on the blockchain for in the way of transactions. That would be it. Then you got a logic account, or LSIG. The LSIG is returns true or false, right? It's some logic that comes back, and if it's true, it'll go ahead and sign it. If it's false, it won't sign it. So that's the story there. Now let's take a look and a little bit deeper now at what we started talking about with fungible tokens and non-fungible tokens. So first, fungible with Algorand standard assets. So these are things like you can create your own cryptocurrency. You know, I can create a Russ coin out there if I wanted to. You also have ability to use this for like in-game points or stable coins, like USDC is, loyalty points, and anything where every one of these tokens is identical in value. You also have restricted fungible tokens, which facilitate clawback through securities and government issued fiat. Non-fungible token examples would include like in-game items like supply chain, real estate, identity. These are all collectibles. That's a real big item, right? So these are one of a kind type items. And what we see here is the real estate, for example, you know, having like a 2-bedroom condo, one part of town, and a 2-bedroom condo in another part of town, they're going to come up with different values because there's different metadata associated with each one of those, making them unique. So that's what non-fungible tokens are all about. All right, next up. Crypto tokens. Let's go ahead and create some. We'll show you how to do this. We'll go out to algodesk.io. This is a ecosystem product. So let's go ahead and these are our 3 networks: testnet, betanet, mainnet for production. We're going to connect my wallet. I'm going to do the algo signer. Let's use the second account. It's going to go ahead and loan it. Let's go ahead and create an asset here. So it's going to be my asset, Russ. 1,000. You have a decimal points you can use as part of that, and HTTPS. And you put your URL in there, and then you got some information down below. These are all the manager roles, reserve roles, callback, and freeze back. So you got those for everything. So let's go ahead and create this asset. And once it gets created, then you'll have it available to see here in the panel here behind. All right, so let's go ahead and take a look at this. And so what we see here is, if I go ahead and do this here, bring this back over here. Here's one I did earlier today. So you can see I've got the information that's associated with the manager, the reserve, the clawback, and the freeze address. And then I want to view this in an Explorer. And you can see it come up in the Explorer with the information that's associated with that supply and account. And then also on that, you had the ability now to do send assets, modify assets, freeze, unfreeze, and revoke, and swap. So some great browsers out there. You have the ability to take a look at some other ones here as well. There's another one from Pure State called Goal Seeker. And it's really nice, and it's instantaneous. You do a transaction and it's right out there. You can verify it. You can actually see all of these transactions that were done there. So some great stuff there. And then also you can go ahead and mint your own with this. This is another ecosystem product here. We're going to go ahead and mint our own. Let's go ahead and copy off. I'm going to do a Mario NFT for you. I'm going to go ahead and connect to AlgoSigner. And let's go ahead and mint. Continue. We'll call this Mario. And then let's go ahead and go next, and we'll put in where is the NFT located. And I just went to a blockchain summit not too long ago down in Tampa, Florida. And it was all about, a lot of NFTs. And what you see here is, resembling that conference. Every booth, had, NFTs that you can, put up on a blockchain and mint them, and then you got something unique. So, you know, we saw this with basically the copyrights too, we talked about earlier. And so when this goes ahead and mints it, this will go out and you'll actually see this displayed on this page. And there's a lot more NFT galleries that are out there as well. And it's pretty cool. And so, like, here's one right here. Here's an NFT that I have right here for admittance to a conference coming up. So that's pretty cool how that works. All right, so let's go back over to the deck then and continue on. Talk about atomic transfers. You have almost succeed or all will fail, right? So the scenario is this. Let's say person A is going to send 50 algos, which is our cryptocurrency, to person B. And then person B in exchange is going to return a concert ticket to person A. So if person A sends 50 algos, but they don't get the concert ticket, they don't lose the 50 algos. Both of these have to happen. All right. So all must succeed or all will fail is the bottom line. This guarantees the exchange of goods. It facilitates doing transactions of, with people that you don't know, folks you don't know. It's always a crapshoot anytime you're doing something like with Craigslist or something like that, whether this thing is going to actually work. So this really helps guarantee that, and it's also combinable with Algorand technology. In fact, everything I'm going to be showing you here is combinable with to build a solution with it. So examples of atomic transfers, which is sometimes referred to as the secret sauce, holding together distributed apps and solutions on blockchains, facilitates circular trades, group payments, combining again with either ASAs or smart contracts, as well as distributed payments. So in terms of smart contracts, Nick Szabo back in 1994 was really a visionary in this area. It says that it's a computerized transaction protocol that executes the terms of a contract. And he gave an analogy kind of similar to having a vending machine. It only works if you put coins in and then you push the button, right, and dispense it. So that's a contract. So more details on this. Basically, the Algorand smart contracts are written in a language called TEAL, Transaction Execution Approval Language. It's an assembly-like language, and it's for a reason, because you really want the VM to be lean and mean on the blockchain, and it really helps performance immensely. And so there is an easier way. I don't know, many of you like Python, for example. So there's a Python-enabled compiler where you can write Python and then compile it, and it'll generate the TEAL, which is your, very detailed assembly language. Reach is another option as well. Will generate the TEAL through building dApps, and I'll actually show you that as a demo here today. You got smart signatures, approved spending for transactions. So if it's true, it'll sign. If it's false, it won't. And then you got smart contracts, which can create transactions and also write to global and local storage at the account level. This is combinable with all the Algorand technologies. So I'll give you a little diagram here, the Algorand dApp architecture. You have a smart signature on the left here with Algorand SDKs and the REST APIs, facilitating things like payments or assets or doing application calls. And on the right, you see the fungible, non-fungible tokens as part of that, payments between accounts. Also smart contracts then with each having local state at the account level or global state at the blockchain level on the Algorand blockchain. Finally, we get to the indexer, which is a really great tool for doing queries. And if you're like building reports or anything like that off of the blockchain, This is a very efficient way to do it. Basically, this AlgoD process will go ahead and spin off the data out into a PostgreSQL database. So you have a real database that's indexed, and you can query it very, very easily to do that. So combining these features, this is kind of like an little architectural diagram on them being grouped atomically. All of this are done through atomic grouping here. So this is a voting example where you have a commission account, basically would spend a voting token, and then you vote for candidate A, and that gets validated by a voting smart contract. And then upon success, it'll increment the candidate A vote total to global state. And that's available for everyone to see, where and how that came from. Maybe the future for voting. You never know how that's going to turn out. Combining layer one features in crowdfunding, right? You got crowdfunding escrows with smart signatures, performing a payment through an escrow account. So this is used, again, atomically grouped. If you're an inventor and you've got to, raise X amount of funds, you ask investors to invest. And if you don't reach that X amount of funds, everything goes back to the investors. If you do reach it, start building a product, and then your investors start, receiving the products that you're going to make. So this is how it's done. You have the atomically group payment from escrow going to user one, then user one claims escrow funds, and boom, you got your smart contract right there facilitating the whole thing. All righty. So we got a question in the question queue, and looks like we got a reply. Right, he's right on top of it in terms of ownership. That's great. And getting started, then let's go into the next session, how you get going. So we're going to cover the Sandbox. So you've got the Algorand SDK, VS Code plugin, Algodia as well. All right. So Sandbox is very easy. You go out to GitHub, you clone it, the Sandbox URL, and just do .sandbox up, and then you're up and running. You got your own node. Betanet, testnet, mainnet are all supported. The alternative is that you can also create your own node and all these different environments listed here. And we got fast catch up, so it'll be up and running within 10 minutes or so. And then also you have services. Those browsers that I showed you also have a developer section, and they have API services with Rand Labs on Algo Explorer, and then the PureStake browser that you saw. And these provide fully indexed, fully archived nodes, and you can access these from SDK code on platforms. So if you don't even want to have any nodes whatsoever, you can take that route. And then also you've got Sandbox, like we had mentioned, which is just a Docker instance, and it really gives you a start from your current node, no sync time. These are all the tools, quite a few of them. I mean, we actually have a lot more, and the ones here highlighted in red are the ones that are from Algorand. There is also a really thriving community out there for the ecosystem for additional SDKs, for example. Ones that are supported by Algorand are JavaScript, Java, Go, and Python. Also, we got PyTeal, like I mentioned, and Teal as part of that mix too. Reach is a great product that helps you build blockchain agnostic solutions with one code base, so you can deploy to multiple blockchains. And it's really easy for me to, anyway, to understand the Reach logic versus say Teal. But yeah, I'll show you that in a minute. You can also see that too. But there's pros and cons to every one of these, and you really got to try what you like and see what works for you. Also, great developer portal, award-winning. Let's bring this up, and we can show you a little bit of this. So if you just scroll down the page here, you can see, blockchain basics. This is good for a lot of the folks here that are just starting out, like what is blockchain? Then you get into smart contracts and dApps, tokenization, information, integration. Down toward the bottom here, you've got SDKs. So I can go in the JavaScript SDK, for example, doing your first transaction here, right? And it gives you all the information. You can also see this live demo, and all you got to do is hit the run button here. You don't have to install anything on these replets, and these are pretty cool. So this will go ahead and run. You hit the run button, and you're off and running, and you can see the sample code that gets created. What I'm going to do is go ahead and bring up a demo here, and we'll show you this live. We'll go to this is a JavaScript solution that I have here. Let's go ahead and fire this off. This is that same getting started code that you saw. And what I'm going to do here is Go ahead and let this execute. It's going to hit some breakpoints and we'll talk about what's going on here. So we're going to do two things in this demo. One is we're going to create an account. And then the second thing is we are going to do a transaction from that account. So here's the create account method. So let's go in here. We're going to get a mnemonic back from the, this is the code that's needed to generate the account. And what I'm going to do here is just pop out to our dispenser and go ahead and fund this account. Right now, if when you create a brand new account, it is empty. And so what we're going to do is use the testnet dispenser to dispense some algos to it so we can cover things like transaction fees, for example. So when this comes back, then we'll go back over to the code and continue stepping through it. And then what we'll see is we have the material going there. Let's just do this again. All right, we got 10 in there. Okay, good. So let's go back over to the code and go ahead and press our any key to continue. Now we're going to go do our first instantiate. We're going to do our instantiate our client, right? So this is going to be the pass in a token, the server, and the port. And for the sandbox, it would be these values, or you can use a stand-up instance that you can have like with PureStake or one of the other, your own server, even as far as that goes, if you wanted to. All right, and then you have continuing on our first call to the client in the SDK for account information. So we're going to look at this particular address, and then we're going to pull out the amount field in the account information, and we'll go ahead and display that down below right over here. You can see the balance there is 10 million micro algos. So if you recall, we got 10 algos, and then we have micro algos all the way down to 6 digits after that. All right, so these are the steps, right? We are going to create a transaction first, then we're going to sign it, authorize it, and then we're going to send it to the blockchain. Those are the 3 steps that are involved for every transaction that you do from an SDK. Okay, so sign it, and then we're going to broadcast it. So that's the step where you might see some errors, right? Things like insufficient funds or things of that nature. So it's signing it right now. It's going to wait for the confirmation, which is about 5 seconds. And then it's going to print off all this information that you see down here below. So there was the transaction amount. We were sending 1 algo that we had fired up in the code. Right there is the amount. And then this is what we have left. And we're going to send that to a closeout account. I got a closeout account value in there going back to the dispenser. So we got nothing left when we get done. So that is a quick demo on doing your first transaction. A lot of tutorials as well on that particular site. So let's take a look at Algodia. All right, so this is a teal program you see right here. It's a very simple one. It's just going to say, okay, the receiver has got to be Bob. This is going to be Bob's address. If that's true and the amount is less than or equal to 1 algo, it's going to return true in this scenario. So what I could do is I could just right mouse clicks here and go over to the accounts and list all the accounts I have in my IDE. And so you can add accounts by hitting new, just like you saw me do in the code before. And then also there's a fetch balance to get balances on each one of these accounts that I have here. So what I'm going to do here is show you a delegated signature on doing a teal transaction. So what I'm going to do is go ahead and go and create a logic sig. And so the logic sig now is going to be a delegated signature. We're going to sign it off by Alice, who's going to be sending some algos over to Bob. So now we've got the LSIG created, and then what I'm going to do is just go ahead and send a transaction. So what this transaction is going to do, I'm going to go and instead of going to Bob, I'm going to go to Russ. And this is going to fail because the logic says it's got to be Bob has got to be the receiver, right? That we see up there. So you're going to see a bunch of red here and it says rejected by logic. That's how you know it failed from a smart contract. So let's do this again, and we'll go ahead and do a send transaction. Once again, we're going to send it from Alice, but this time we're going to go actually to Bob, and we're going to send one algo. So all the logic should be true, and then you'll see this transaction actually occur. So very great environment here. Again, this is through the ecosystem in Algorand, and it kind of reminds me of the old days at Microsoft when I used to be there back in the late 90s, and really getting the developer community on board and all of these great third-party controls and products. It's really a great ecosystem that you see there. So there's the successful transaction, and that's the transaction details. All right, continuing on again. Got REST endpoints, Reach, a great tool, programming language, compiler, and deploy. It outputs any chain just with the configuration change, mathematically guarantee safety, verification is really huge on this. The way this works is a back end and front end to it. It's a very typical client server kind of architecture. And what you see here is the back end, which is going to generate, deploy, and interact with smart contracts automatically through solution implementation, the logic, in other words, in your distributed app. Also, it's going to define the front end interfaces over here, and then define participants who's going to be involved, and it has verification commitments as well. On the front end, this is where you're going to do things like the user interface, create accounts, interact methods are actually in here that are called from the back end, and then blockchain specific code as well. Compile it, run it, and boom, you're out to the Algorand blockchain. It's an all-in-one tool, everything from protocol design down to deployment. So let's take a quick look at this. I'm going to bring this up, and you can see this Reach More game that I have. Mora, if you're unfamiliar with it, is the hand gesture game where you throw out a number of fingers, and let's go over here. There we go. All right, CD R2. And so if you throw out, like, say, 2 fingers, your opponent throws out 3, and if you guess 5 at the same time they're guessing something else, you would win. Well, let's do a reach run, and we'll show you this, and then just take a quick look at the code. And once this fires up, then you'll start seeing, some action. So we got backend code, which is this reach file, and we have, logic in here for doing some asserts and doing all the different combinations of fingers thrown and guesses. Somebody got to be a winner at the end of this loop when they're doing this. And then you also see you've got deadlines you can put in for replying or playing. This is the wager. There's going to be a little wager going on in this game as well. And then you also see you have the while loop that is done over here to go ahead and execute through this. Then you have things like only Bob can go ahead and shoot his fingers, and Alice can go ahead and do hers as well. So a lot of great things there. And also there is logic in here. For example, if I were to change the wager to 1 and try to rerun this thing would fail because it's going to say you left money on the table. And that's really a problem today in some of the smart contracts that are out there. You as a developer have got to really write secure contracts, just like you as a developer have to write secure code, no matter what you do. If you're doing a web application, you got to prevent, people that are going to be hacking in that. So anyway, that is Reach, and let's go back to the deck here and continue on, and we'll wrap up with some summary information. And let's just talk about AVM first. So what is AVM? It's an Algorand virtual machine. The consensus network observes when a smart contract app calls a transaction. It sends it to the execution environment, and the execution environment commonly known as a VM. It's a runtime within the consensus protocol. So what does that mean? Well, smart contract program logic is executed and evaluated and either include that transaction in the next block or discard it altogether if the evaluation fails. So we actually have a demo on this. So you can you'll have the link to this. We're going to put a link in the Ryan, if you want to put a link into the chat window with the PowerPoint slides, that'd be great, and then people will have that to use. PyTeal, basically you write it in Python, you compile it, and there's the teal that gets generated. And then also, we've got a great developer newsletter out there that's available with on a weekly basis. Actually, Ryan is one who authors that, so highly encourage you, subscribing to this. It's a great way to really find out what's going on in Algorand that week. So it's pretty cool. A lot of great ecosystem and tools and projects. Going out to the Algorand developer site under ecosystem projects, you'll see them all listed in big sections, right? A bunch of wallets out there, for example. You got a bunch of frameworks too with the Algorand Builder. Pipeline UI is great. I demoed that at the as part of the Reach workshop I did in Tampa last week. We just put a video up on that too. If you go out to the Algorand YouTube channel, it's like one of the most recent workshops I did on Reach. We spent about an hour on Reach alone, and I co-presented with one of the workers at Reach as well. And Pipeline creates a user interface control. So if you want to have a control on your front end, for example, that pops up a QR code and the address of the Algorand account, there's a control that does that. And it really is great. So these guys wrote actually a React front end for the More app game, and that's available up on our GitHub repo too. And I'll show you those links at the end here as well. It's a lot of great stuff there with the Pipeline UI. It's really great. Then here's all these SDKs. .NET, there's a .NET SDK, there's Rust, there's Swift, there's Vertices, PHP out there. And also we have Gitcoin Bounties with the Algorand Foundation. This is where, we got some really hefty ones. You can see on the right here, the amounts that equate to USD as well as algos. There's a very good one there for gamers at the top. And then these are grant programs that are available as well. If you got an idea and you want to start, getting some funds for that idea, or enter one of our hackathons and then follow up with some of these grant programs. A lot of people are doing that. These are all the ambassadors. There's many of them. If you're interested, drop a note to Stephen at algorand.foundation. You can become one too. We got developer office hours every other week, and if you go to algorand.com/developers, and if you scroll down that page, by the way, you'll see videos from all the prior developer office hours. This is a hackathon I was telling you about at Hacker Earth. We've got over $100,000 worth of prizes on that. Register now. It's the ends on January 11th, so you got plenty of time for that too. Here's our developer portal. The Discord server is the one you want to go ahead and take a picture of this and do an invite. I'm going to go ahead and escape here and just copy this. I'll paste this into the chat as well. You want to go ahead and join this in the chat. I'm going to paste this in right there right now. Send it. Okay, very good. All right, and so the other one is the developer portal, of course, which we talked about. Discord is great. We got, I don't know, thousands of developers there now. It's really great. PowerPoint, this is the link for the PowerPoint, and the YouTube channel I mentioned. Also, there's a Discord server for Reach. I got that in there. The More app, you can see that right there, the Reach More app on the Algorand DevRel site, and then also the Algorand GitHub repo with many projects in there, and then the doc site as well. There is the AVM using the SDK. There's a demo on that in the Algorand DevRel repo. So in summary, blockchain basics and use cases, we talked about really all the great uses, everything from supply chain to using blockchain to provide crowdfunding and voting and cryptocurrencies, right? And DeFi are among the biggest. And then layer one, we talked about some of the built-in functionality. It runs really quick and really fast and really lean right on the blockchain itself, including Algorand standard assets, smart contracts, and atomic transfers, and then you're reporting on that with Indexer, as well as the ability to have different types of accounts. Getting started, we took a look at some JavaScript example. We have getting started in all the 4 SDKs, as well as a lot of code and tools. I just hit the tip of the iceberg there today. And again, there is the link to the PowerPoint. or also you'll see more resources in here as well. So I'm going to end this share and open this up for questions as well.
Thank you so much, Russ, for this amazing session. A lot of information, and I'm sure people will get a lot from this talk. And thanks to Ryan for doing an amazing job in getting onto the questions and sharing all the informations and links. That's amazing. So we have one question in the chat. Already Ryan did a great job, but there still, I think, one or two unanswered questions. Probably we can take it there. So Akila asks, what is a good book that you recommend to understand blockchain technology?
You know, it's funny because I was just thinking about writing one myself. I guess that's more proof for the pudding, right? Uh, I don't know, Ryan. Do you have any books offhand that you know?
Anything basic, abstracting away, just blockchain specifically. I apologize. I'm drawing a blank. I tell you what, next week I will come and I'll come prepared to answer that question. How's that for a cliffhanger?
Yeah, that's right. You are presenting next week for Women Who Code. That would be very cool. And then also, you know, we do have a lot of good content right on getting started in the developer portal. And I think that in lieu of having a book factor, I think that would be your next best bet is just go to developer.algorand.org and click on the getting started box, and it'll take you right through it. And a lot of good introductory level tutorials, and then we also have once you get that down, then we dive into get details about each one of those topics. So a lot of good content there.
Awesome. And on that note, so next week, Tuesday, Ryan will be holding another session on smart contract fundamentals and building your first dApp. So please join that session. And we will have two more sessions with Algorand from Women Who Code blockchain track. Please check the registration page of Women Who Code blockchain, which I'm sharing right now. Please just go ahead to the events page and register yourself. It's a whole lot of amazing series. And with that, we are at the end of the time. So I would like to thank again to Russ Fustino for having this amazing talk today, and Ryan Fox, of course, for helping with the questions and resources. And also a lot of thanks to our attendees. Thanks for joining the talk. And please do check out other talks in the Connect Forward. Also, we have a networking feature in Hopin, so please do check that out. You can connect to other developers and speakers there. And please check the Expo. In Expo, we have our sponsors like SpaceX, Microsoft, Accenture, Shopify. They are all there to help you. They are all recruiting, so please do drop by. And with that, enjoy the rest of the time in Connect Forward. Thanks, everyone. Have a great rest of the day.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
All right. Thank you, everybody.